Welcome to the Arcane Executioner, bombing away rare enemies, chunking down bosses, flying through maps. With the power of ice and lightning salvos, this is possible. And the gameplay loop is not a 20 button combo. For normal enemies, you'll need 2 keys, and for bosses, 4. Now, before I tell you how it works and which skills we're using, this is the endgame version of the build and needs you to be level 52 to actually pick up Magnetic Salvo. Before, you can play the starter build in the description below until level 52. That will directly lead into this one. And now that we mentioned Magnetic Salvo, that's what we're doing. Step 1, drop lightning rods from the sky. These lightning rods are creating a field of lightning. And then you're using Magnetic Salvo as the bomb to explode all these lightning rods. And that's your gameplay loop as you're flying through. Scoot past the opponent, vup, 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 vup from the sky, and then bam. And then our Herald of Thunder spirit ability will boost us bonus. Now to get more lightning rods out, you want to have Scatter Shot. That will drop 3 straight away. And if you have a dual string bow, that's going to be 4. With a Deadeye Ascendancy, you can straight up drop 5 of them with a click of one button. 555, boom explosion. 555. It's brilliant. And in order to keep that speed rolling, we're using Martial Tempo for 25% more attack speed. And lastly, Concentrated Effect. Less area, more damage in the area. And since you're dropping 12 to 15 straight away, you got enough area of effect. The Magnetic Salvo itself, you want to critical strike as much as possible. We're sitting at 1000 DPS here, but we need to do these banger super chunks that we can delete bosses with a 1 hits to 2 hits. So far my critical strike chance is around 15%. That's rookie numbers. I need to boost that up. And that's why we're using Inevitable Critical. Supported skills gain 25 increased critical hit chance each second up to 100%. This critical hit chance is lost whenever skills supported by Inevitable critical hits. If you have a very shitty one, this will guarantee a crit at a certain point. This gets followed up by Super Critical, that your skill has a 100% increased critical damage bonus, but it also has 20% less critical hit chance. Kinda stings. Still, that 100% bonus, it's so good. And lastly, Elemental Focus for another 25% bonus damage. That's huge. We cannot shock anymore with the ability, but we'll shock with Lightning Rod or Stormcaller Arrow. We'll get to that in a bit. And these 2 abilities are everything you need. Just scoot through the map, rods, boom, rods, boom. Very fun gameplay loop. And since you're a Deadeye Ranger, you got Tailwind, and Tailwind will give you more skill speed, more movement speed, more evasion rating. You're pretty much not going to be touched by any enemy while you're continuously exploding everyone to the sky. But wait, there's more. We got another Salvo, we got a Curse, Wind Dancer, and we're using the Stormcaller Arrow. All these are components that will amplify our damage further. But first, the Herald of Thunder. If we kill a shocked enemy, our damage is being boosted and we're striking with more lightning. For this, we'll use Innervate. Attacks gain another 35% of damage as lightning damage for 3 seconds on killing a shocked enemy with supported skills. Kill a shocked guy, Herald of Thunder activates, boost our damage further. Thank you very much. Makes the Herald of Thunder do even more damage. And technically the Primal Armament could also be changed out for the Elemental Focus. Thing is, the Elemental Focus on our Magnetic Salvo does not higher the cost. And this one costs already 152 mana and is at 120% more expensive because of Inevitable Critical. That's why the Primal Armament lands down on the Herald of Thunder. Because otherwise, your Magnetic Salvo is just going to deplete your mana globe with 1 salvo. That stings. Lastly, there's Lightning Penetration that we're ignoring, 30% lightning resistance. Again, that one could be good on Magnetic Salvo, but it would be another 120% cost multiplier. Yeah, no. What's with all the other skills now? When do you use those? Freezing Salvo is for controlling mobs. Every 10 seconds, Super Blast, amazing damage, and freeze. And for this, we're using the Hourglass Support Gem. It gives it bonus cooldown, but more damage. The bonus cooldown in this case doesn't matter because the Freezing Salvo empties itself and then it gotta soak up bonus charges. And that roughly takes 10 seconds for 10 charges. And then you yoink out these 10 charges again. Amazing to shut down rares, amazing to shut down a bunch of mobs if you're being chased down, or if you're just facing something you don't like. Ice vulnerable enemies, it's beautiful. In order to do more damage, we got cold infusion and on top cold penetration. That makes the freezing salvo truly a nasty DPS monster that just blasts into our opponent. The voltaic mark and the conductivity are both tools to absolutely destroy rares and bosses. They work together with the Stormcaller arrow. Before we get to them, our next spirit ability, Wind Dancer. Wind Dancer is a personal buff with 3 stages. Every stage gives you more evasion. If we get hit, it triggers Gale Force that pushes back the enemies. It counts as a hit to the enemies, and you'll lose all your stages and then start soaking back up again. It will also blind the enemies it hits on the VOP, and right now I get 30% increased mana generation. That one is needed so much because the Magnetic Salvo is very expensive. Right now, all my spirit is simply from the quest. Act 1, Act 3, and then Act 3 Cruel again. And it's enough spirit to power Wind Dancer, Herald of Thunder, the bonus mana regeneration, and Herald of Ice. The Herald of Ice is simply in. If your freeze salvo freezes, shatters someone, boom, there's just a bonus explosion. Why not have it as we have freezing salvo and we don't need any other ability? Okay, that's all the passives and the main skills. What about the bonus stuff to beat bosses? Stormcaller arrow can be used for pack of mobs, rares, and bosses. You start with the Stormcaller arrow in, lightning strikes from the sky, enemies are shocked, and because of the cursing currents, the enemy and everyone around them is being shocked. Very nice to apply that. Very good versus bosses to have the guaranteed shock to have them take 35% increased damage. And if you put a voltaic mark bonus on them, it's 45% increased damage right now. That's nice. That's a lot. But wait, there's more. Supported skills inflict lightning exposure for 8 seconds on shocking enemies. That's a resistance minus and they straight away take more damage. Plus conduction, we're increasing our chance to shock. 100% shock with a shock spread with the bonus lightning damage they're going to be taking. Amazing. On top, if you fight a rather tough opponent, we have conductivity. Conductivity needs to be level 7 and not higher. Because for level 7, you only need 52 int. I have a level 8 right now with 1 more rank from Lightning Mastery, and that is currently up to level 9. Takes 61 int to activate. You don't want to level up further. It's okay at this level. Minus 32% lightning resistance. The curse duration is 6.6 seconds, actually longer because of persistence, and it will just increase your damage by chunking down your opponent's resistance. I use this versus very beefy rares and versus bosses to create these super hits. Arcane Tempo allows me to cast it faster, to perfectly weave in between all my other attacks, and then with the Lightning Mastery, we just get another level on it. That Lightning Mastery will obviously land on Magnetic Salvo or on the Lightning Rods as I get bigger Jeweler's Orbs. And the Voltaic Mark makes your shock multiply your damage more. If you then put on Conductivity, Voltaic Mark with the shock together on your opponent, minus 32 lightning resistance, x 45% more damage, then the lightning exposure from the Stormcaller arrow, and boom, Magnetic Salvo just absolutely demolishes everyone in your path. Before we get into the gear now, let's talk about the passive skill tree, as that is so important for this ranger. First up, you want to pick up Combat Alchemy. This helps you tremendously to just zoot through content and always have enough flash charges. Next up, as you get a good quiver, we want to increase the bonuses of our equipped quiver. In my case, that would be tons of physical damage, fire damage, cold damage, all this flat damage, and that gets multiplied upwards to be more useful than ever. Super DPS. Next up, we're penetrating lightning resistance and we're doing more damage for each elemental ailment. And since my bow is doing fire damage, we have cold damage, fire damage, physical, lightning, everything. We'll apply ignite, freeze, and shock. More ailments, more multipliers, more awesome. This whole upper part will get ignored at first. Don't you ever go in this direction. First, you're gonna branch off through the gem into 1% increased attack speed per 15 dex, great. Then further into more mana regeneration and reduced mana cost while not on low mana. This, together with the support gems, will have you never run out of mana. Then infinite flash charges, just brilliant. We are sustaining ourselves through anything. Now, obviously, you can get lucky and get leeches 5% of physical damage as mana. That's not bad to have. Since we're taking Falcon Technique for the bonus attack speed, we want to get Dex, Dex, and Dex, plus even more evasion rating and percentile dexterity, plus 100% increased evasion rating from equipped body armor. That's amazing. As your body armor can have 500, 600 evasion rating, and you get even more from this. Super nice. Now you do want to have the Coming Calamity, but I'm 70 and I don't have the points for it yet. I'd rather go into more critical hit chance, more critical hit chance, more critical hit chance, more critical hit chance, and more critical strike damage bonus. This one is so important as I don't have very much critical hit chance and I need more for those super magnetic salvos. Then down here, we get the Maiming Strike, more attack damage and attacks can maim, movement speed reduction, plus increased magnitude of shock you inflict. Your shock, instead of doing just 20% more damage, does more damage. And we get mana regeneration on top and even more magnitude of shock. There is movement speed and skill speed on the side together with your gems. I don't have very good jewels here right now. They're borderline horrible. We're going to pick up Stand and Deliver for shotgunning. Projectiles have increased critical strike damage bonus against enemies within 2 meters. And we're always within 2 meters, more or less. And then another 25% increased damage with hits against enemies within 2 meters as well. We're just close to everyone. More damage again, elemental damage. Then we're moving down for longer shocks and even more damage against enemies affected by elemental ailments. While we're moving over to the side to get ourselves more shock, electrocution, freeze, and ignite build up. And we'll get even more elemental resistance penetration. The next node I'm going to be trying to get down here is increased critical hit chance for attacks and then 30% increased magnitude of not damaging ailments you inflict with critical hits. That's interesting for the shock, to have it do even more damage multipliers because it's a non-damaging ailment, as chill and freeze are. And while we're trying to get to the tainted strike, you can pick yourself up Flash Storm for increased chance to shock and we penetrate lightning resistance. And we can make our non-lightning damage critical hits lucky. Lucky means attacks roll 2 dice and the better dice is essentially being used damage-wise. For our Deadeye, you start with Tailwind, then we're going to go into projectile speed and point blank, shotgunning enemies close up again. And our goal would be adding endless munitions for the bonus projectile. And then in the end, Wind Ward for less damage taken per Tailwind, as that will just make us even more tanky. For the gear, you want a dual string bow, we said it, and it needs to have a lot of physical damage because our Magnetic Salvo converts physical damage to lightning damage as the lightning rod does. More physical damage, more damage for these abilities to convert. We got flat fire damage, cold damage, and lightning damage on it as well, which is great. More life per hit, and the leech on life or mana works tremendously well. And on your quiver, again, physical damage, flat damage bonuses, all of that. Super good. And now, what's my DPS? This is 200 up to 300 DPS on my abilities. And that gets even crazier with your gloves. These gloves have 15 to 22 physical damage and 1 to 15 lightning damage. Sadly, it's +1 to all melee skills. We don't have any melee skills, but watch this. That's another 150 DPS bonus on everything going on. Just with your goddamn gloves. Crazy good. Your chest should have a lot of evasion and especially resistances. My resistances are right now questionable, but we're sitting at a very good evasion rating that gets multiplied upwards with more tailwind and also our wind dancer charges. Fantastic. The helmet is aiding us with more evasion. I want more max life and everywhere critical hit chance where you can get critical hit chance because, well, we need that as high as possible. My amulet should have mana regeneration. I don't have mana regeneration on it because I found one that gives me critical strike damage bonus and, well, it also gives me +2 levels to all projectile skills. That's a straight up killer damage multiplier that cannot be ignored. All level to projectile skills shall be taken. Boots is even more evasion rating. Your belt is for resistances as well to resistance you out. On the rings, I was looking for some physical damage, 6 to 11 again. And 6 to 11 in this case is another nice boost to your DPS. Otherwise, resistance, and, well, again, physical damage as life leech. I won't say no to that. Now you might wonder, why is it only level 70? Why don't we keep pushing? I end all my characters around level 70 and then just start a new playthrough as I really enjoy bringing characters to this point. Sure, mapping is an amazing experience for many, but I do actually like the campaign more. That being said, the Ranger feels amazing during mapping, and if I would now push someone to tier 15 maps, it would be this Ranger, as I get more resistances because they are right now horrible and I hate it. What do you think? Do I have you convinced? Is this something you want to try out? If you're rather interested in the Witch, I got one for you, and don't worry, Sork is coming, Merc is coming, all of the other classes are coming in this channel with starters and early endgame guides. Enjoy and have a killer day.